Well, hello and welcome again to our reading of the Greek New Testament. We're in Matthew's Gospel, chapter 15, and we were up to verse 21. This is an interesting little pericope here. It occurs in Mark, but interestingly not in Luke. And the reference here is to a Canaanite woman, that is, non-Jewish woman. Kai ex elthon ekathen ho Jesus anachoresen es ta mere Turu kai Sidonos. And having gone out from there, Jesus retreated, retreat in the sense of withdrew from Anacorio, into the Mere. This is the neuter plural from meros, but literally part, so into the regions perhaps of Tyre and Sidon, and these are down beside the sea, in modern day Lebanon. Kai idu gune Cananaia apoton horion e Canaan ex elthusa e krasden legusa eleeson me curie vios David he thugater mu kakos daimonizatai. And behold, a Canaanite woman from their regions or borders, from this word here is from these regions or from these borders, having come out, she cried out, saying, feminine participle here, eleeson. This is the imperative from eleeo, aorist imperative, have mercy on me, Lord, Son of David. My daughter literally is being demonized badly. So she suffered badly from demon possession. Now the interesting fact is that Jesus gives no reply to the woman because she's not Jewish, she's not part of the Jewish race, and Jesus explicitly is about to say that his message, as he understands it at that point, is to the lost house of Israel, or the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Hode uk apekretheaute logon, literally he does not answer a word to her. Kai proselthontes hoi methetai autu, and his disciples erotun. Now this is the imperfect from erotao, and it's contracting here, so it's an imperfect. So they began to ask him, saying, so from erotao. So his disciples having come, they began to ask him, saying, Apollosen auten, hoti krasde opis then hemon. This is an imperative from apolluo, so dismiss this woman, send her away, because she cries, opiso hemon, literally behind us, or perhaps after us. She's hode apekrethes apen, and he said, uk apestalein ame est probata ta apollolota oiku Israel. Now this is the aorist passive from apostello, and I was not sent, ame, except to the sheep, the lost sheep. This is the perfect perfect participle from apollumi, and it's a neuter plural participle agreeing with probata. So except to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. So clearly Jesus saw his ministry as being only to the Jewish people at this point. Nonetheless, hey de elthus prosekune auto legus curie boethemoi. And she coming, she began to worship him, saying, Lord, help me. This again is an imperative. It's from boetheo, and you get contracts to epsilon iota, so it's an imperative contract from boetheo, to assist or help me. And he having answered, he said, uk esti kalon labain tonaton ton teknon kai balain tois kuna riois. Now the Jews generally did not have a very high view of non-Jews at that point of time, and in fact this name, the dogs, kunarios, appears to have been name given by the Jews of that time to all non-Jews. So they spoke rather disparagingly of non-Jews at this point. So it says, "It is not good, Laban, to take the bread of the children, kai balain, and to cast it to dogs." This is a diminutive, it's kunarion, it's a diminutive word for dogs. Later Greek liked lots of diminutives, although I think the word still is in classical is a diminutive as well, but kuon is the usual word for dog. This is a diminutive. Hey de apen, but she said, "Nai kuria, yes Lord, for even the dogs," there's the neuter plural there, the diminutives are generally neuter, "for even the dogs eat from the psychion tone piptontone." The psychion is, again, it's a neuter noun. It's a diminutive of psyx, psi iota xi, which means a morsel or a small amount of something. It's only here in the New Testament, a bit like our word crumbs. So even the dogs eat from the crumbs or the smaller morsels, and in apposition to that we get a participle, those which are falling from the table of their masters. At that time Jesus answered and said to her, "O Gunai, O woman." Notice the vocative, this is the vocative of Gunai. It's a slightly irregular form. Gunai, Gunaikos, has this vocative Gunai, "O woman, megale su hepistis, great is your faith. Genetheto soi hos theles, let it be to you as you wish. Kai iathe hethugateautes, and her daughter was cured, was healed from iamai. This is the aorist passive from iamai. Her daughter was cured, apotes horas ekenes, from that hour. Kai metabasike then ho Jesus, and Jesus having gone up from there, eilthen paraten thalasantes Galileas, he went beside the Sea of Galilee. Kai anabas, aorist participle from anabino, having gone up onto the mountain, ekatheto, he sat down. This is from kathemai, he sat down eke there. And kai proselthen auto okloi poloi ekontes met hiauton kolus, tuflus, kulus, kofus, kai heterus polus. Kai erips en autus paratus podas autu, kai etherapius en autus. And a great crowd came, having with themselves, so perhaps among themselves, Kolus, the lame, Tuflus, the blind. Kolus is the crippled. Some translate this as maimed. It also appears in chapter 18, we'll see later. It's connected apparently with kuklos, meaning a circle, and hence curved, perhaps those who were crippled in the sense of had spinal curvature. The kofus, the dumb, those who didn't speak, and many others. And they hurled them, rips, this is a very powerful verb here, it's from a ripto. They hurled them beside his feet, and he healed them. Hosti tonoklon thaumasai blepontes kofus laluntes kolus hugies kai kolus, and go to the next page, so that we get hosti plus accusative and infinitive. So that the crowd was amazed, looking at the dumb speaking, the kolus, the crippled or the maimed, hugies. This is a third declension noun. The ace is often used for the accusative plural. Normally you'd get as here in classical Greek with an alpha. Hugies here has to be accusative, agreeing with kulus. And hugies, we get our word hygiene and so on from that. Hugien means well or in good health. kai cholus, and the lame peripatuntas, kai, so walking around, this is a participle from peripatio, kai tuflus, and the blind seeing, and they gave glory to the God of Israel. Now we get a second feeding here. This is in Mark's Gospel, the 4,000. Hodiesus pros kalesamenos tus mathetus autu apen. And Jesus, calling his disciples, he said, Splank nisdamai epi ton oklon. Hoti ade hamera tres pros menus in moi kai ukekus in tiffagosin. I am moved to compassion. Literally, I am moved in my bowels, so I am moved to compassion over the crowd. Hoti, because now, and this is rather strange here, we get an accusative of time, a nominative time, which is very odd. You'd normally get perhaps a genitive or an accusative or something here, but now already for 3 days they remain beside me, and they do not have what thing they might eat. Kai apolusai autus nes des uthello. I do not wish to dismiss them, nestes, again this is an accusative plural, third declension from nestes with an eater, and then again this is also from that ne, that negative plus estheo, so without eating. So I do not wish to dismiss them not having eaten. It's often used of fasting, but it just simply means not eating. Me poti, lest ever ek luthos in tehodo. This is from ek luo. It's literally connected with luo to loose, but it's probably in the sense of pass out or faint from hunger. So lest ever they faint on the road. Kai legus in auto hoimathetai, and his disciples say to him, Pothen hemen en hem eremia autoi tosutoi hostiko tasai oklon tosuton. So his disciples say, it's historic present to him, Pothen, from whence to us in the desert, I have to understand, is there so much bread, hosty plus accusative infinitive, so as to satisfy, from kortasdo, this is the aorist infinitive, so as to satisfy such a crowd. So again, so from whence is there or will there be for us in the desert so much bread so as to satisfy such a crowd? Kai lege autois Jesus, and Jesus says to them, historic present, Possus artus ekete. How many loaves do you have? Hoi de apan, and they said, Hepta, 7. Kai oliga ichthudia, and a few little fish. This is ichthus is the normal word for fish. This is echthudion. Again, it's a diminutive, so it's neuter, and this is the neuter plural from second declension. Ichthudion, a few little fish. Kai parangelas de okloi anapesain epitengen, having given instructions to the crowd. This is from anapipto, to sit, literally to fall up, but to sit. Anapipto here in the sense of to recline, to sit down upon the ground. Elebontus hepta artus, and he gave them the 7 loaves and the ichthuas. Now this time he uses the third declension noun. Ichthus, this is ichthuas, this is the third declension accusative with us this time. So, and the fish, and having given thanks, he broke it from klao. We've had that word before, generally used of bread. He broke it and he began to give it. This is imperfect from didomi. Began to give it to the disciples, and the disciples, understand, began to give it to the crowds. Kai ephegon pantes kai ekortasthesan. And they, all of them ate, and they were satisfied. the perisuon tone plasmatone, Aaron, they took up the abundance, the bit left over of the plasmatone, of the bits that were broken. So perhaps the scraps here. I mentioned before, klasmata in modern Greek means fraction. It's connected again with this klao verb we've had above here. The plasmatone are the things which are broken. So they took up, this is from Iro, they took up the excess of the broken bits, fragments, 7 spuridas, from spuris, third declension noun, baskets full. Hoidies theontes eisen tetrakiskilioi, andres, choris gunaikon kai paidion. And those eating were 4,000, apart from women and children. Kai apolus tusoklus anebe es toploion, kai elthen es ta horia Magadan. And having dismissed the crowd, he went up into the boat, and he went into the borders or regions of Magadan. And again, you'll see the variant readings of the spelling of that word. And that's the end of chapter 15.